Good afternoon. I'm Daniel Guest, and welcome to the Imagine Golf Podcast, brought to you by Imagine Golf and PXG. You can go to our site, imaginegolf.com, to see all of our offerings, including our free drills, our practice plans. We got some new golf ebooks up there and videos, or to book a lesson with me at our state-of-the-art studio right outside of Philadelphia, or virtually from anywhere in the world through our partner, thegolfliveapp.com. And you can sign up for our free tips and videos that go out once a week, every week, by simply dropping us your email. Well, today's a fun episode for me. They're all fun now that I think about it, but it's a fun episode for me because it's one of my favorite parts of golf instruction, and that's the playing lesson, right? And there's not too many people that have taken a playing lesson, right? And which is just astounding, right? When you consider that golf is one of the only games or sports, you could say, that is practice where you don't play. All right. So unlike any other sport, right? Basketball, at least you practice on a basketball court. Hockey, you practice on an ice rink, obviously. Soccer, you practice on the soccer field. So, but golf, we practice practically anywhere. You practice in your living room, you practice at the range, you practice on mats, you hit into a net, you hit on, horrible grass at the driving range. If you're fortunate enough to have a facility with grass at the driving range, you get the idea. We hit indoors, but rarely, if ever, does anyone actually practice on the course, right? And just a couple quick stats, man. If about 12% of all American golfers take golf lessons, right? And less than 1% of them ever take a playing lesson, which, just when I was doing some research for the podcast, just blew me away, right? Just absolutely blew me away because there's no doubt that an on-course lesson, right, is far better than most lessons that are wherever, right? And this is coming from a guy that's given this fall will be 38,000 lessons, right? So I can just tell you that our students get more out of that playing lesson than probably any other lesson that we have on the books, if you would. I have to double check that. But in terms of reviews, we get our highest percentage of reviews. Almost 95% of those that take a playing lesson shoot us a 5-star review, which is astounding, right? We just need more playing lessons. And I get it. Look, playing lesson takes a lot of time, right? Minimum like 2.5, 3 hours. It's expensive because you got to pay, for that time, if you would. And you got to be, a committed golfer. Not many people are going to spend, upwards of $200, $300, $400, $500 for a lesson. Even though it will dramatically change their game, even though they spend that easily on a driver these days, or a couple wedges or a putter, or you get the idea, anything equipment wise. Right. So, but two things. One, I thought it'd be interesting to talk about like what we do at Imagine Golf in a playing lesson, like what you get out of that playing lesson. And two, what prompted me to pick this topic, if you would. I happened to give 3 playing lessons last week that were just incredible experiences. The first one was a junior where we shaved 7 strokes off his 18-hole score the very next day, right? So we shaved like, I think, like 4 or 5 off in the 9 holes that we played together. And then by himself, he came back the next day or 2 days later and knocked off 7 strokes. We had a guy that was over 55 coming back to the game, knocked off 10 strokes on his game. And then we had almost a scratch golfer. This guy's probably a 2 handicap, 3 handicap. And I think we're getting closer to par. He hasn't shot par this year yet, but he was 1 over in a round immediately following. So look, that's enough to say just those 3 rounds, right? Or 3 lessons. That's enough validation, if you would, that they work. They absolutely work. So let me tell you what a playing lesson isn't, right? At least in Imagine Golf, it isn't. Um, I'm not playing with you, right? You're not playing with one of our pros. So while we take our clubs with you and we play 9 holes, the lesson consists of 9 holes, right? We rarely hit shots, right? Unless we're demonstrating something significantly different than what the student is doing, or there's a requirement for it. But rarely does the pro that's actually giving the lesson play, right? So we may have a fun contest or so. We might play a par three together. We may play a par five together. You may ask to play together. You want to see a certain shot. I get all that. Well, if that's the case, then that's actually exactly what we're going to do. But by and large, it's not a playing scenario where you're playing golf with a pro. That's what a pro-am is, right? Um, so we actually amateurs play with professionals, right? This is an actual playing lesson. So what we're really trying to do, I'd imagine anyway, when before we get into actually what we look at, let me tell you what I told you what it's not. Let me tell you what it is. It's lots of videos, right? It's lots of filming in general, whether they're pics or videos, and an absolute shit ton of notes. We're taking tons of notes. We're asking lots of questions. You're going to get a nice dossier, if you would, after the round on what we saw in that round, right? And that's some valuable stuff because you're getting another set. Any other set of eyes is positive, right? But now you're getting a trained set of eyes that can absolutely help you lower your score. So now we're actually playing golf, not playing golf swing like we do in a whole lot of lessons, right? So here are the couple things that we're looking for in the actual playing lesson. There's actually 7 things. Imagine that 7, right? Because everything we do at Imagine is 7. But so I'm going to list them out first, and then we'll go through them one by one. The first thing we're looking for is we're trying to bridge the gap between practice and play, right? And that's a no-brainer. The second thing is we're going to try to master course management and strategy. In other words, what are you doing on the course that could be different? We're going to identify and address some real-time swing issues. You're under pressure now on the course, right? You got, the ball's above your feet, below your feet, all that stuff. We're going to see that firsthand, and we're going to see if there's any swing issues that are different than when you normally come in for a lesson in a pretty mellow environment. We're definitely number 4. We're definitely going to look at your mental game, how you react to certain scenarios. Number 5, we're going to take a look at your short game and your putting. And number 6, we're going to actually give you some instruction, if you would, on the course. Hey, don't do this, do X. And I think that right then and there, I know when you do that right then and there, and you see the difference, you hit a knockdown 7-iron instead of hitting a lofted 8-iron into the green, and we show you exactly why you need to do the opposite, and then you actually do it. It's powerful, man. It's absolutely powerful. And the last thing we look at is your confidence, right? What is your commitment to the game, to the sport, to your swing, just your overall confidence factor? So those are the 7 things that we look at and you get reviewed on, if you would, in a playing lesson at Imagine. So let's talk about the first one, the gap between practice and play, right? Of course, the golf course presents unique challenges that any other practice facility just simply can't replicate. Now, when I say can't replicate, today's simulators come pretty awful close, right? Pretty darn close. Our sim has the ability to play different lofts and everything, or different, excuse me, lies and everything, and it's deadly accurate, right? So what you don't get, right, is and actually you could, now that I think about it, we could change the weather, we can do all kinds of cool things on the sim that we probably don't do enough of, but it's still not out there playing, right? But like, how do you react, right, with uneven lies, unpredictable bounces, changing weather, if that happens in a playing lesson, which is always, challenging for sure. What about your decision making, right? um we're really just trying to look at, the 4 uh, areas of everyone's game and how they practice those 4 areas versus how they actually play those 4 areas. And those 4 areas are simple. We got the long game, we got approach shots, we got short game, and we have putting, right? Those are the 4th areas that we look at. But we're trying to look for any gaps between the practice that we know with the student and the play that we're seeing now. And that's not always easy to do, right? I mean, a lot of people, they do play pretty well, like they practice, if you would. There's other people that it's not even close, right? They're practicing one thing and it's not even remotely similar when they get on the course, right? Or they practice one way and they play another. That always cracks me up, right? You're taking lessons, but you're not applying the lessons to the course, if you would, or to the game. That absolutely blows me away. So, but we're going to look for those gaps. We're going to identify those gaps, and we're going to call those gaps out, and ultimately, we're going to shrink those gaps, right? The second piece is mastering course management and strategy, right? I'm amazed how many people have almost no strategy um, when they play around the golf, right? Um, just when you say it out loud, it doesn't even make any sense, right? We got to take a look at each hole strategically. What are we trying to accomplish? How are we playing? How is the weather affecting us? How is the lie on each shot? Are we choosing the right clubs, right? Are we choosing the right shots? Are we committed to the shots? All right. Are we, playing hero golf because we duffed the first shot and we're trying to make it up with the second? I mean, I could go on and on about course management and strategy, but I think of all the 7, that we're talking about today, this is probably where we can pick up a significant amount of strokes typically, just with the student and just getting them to manage the course better and have a better strategy from tee box to green. For sure, tee box to green. Um, and I think it just helps you manage the game more effectively, and it absolutely allows you to have more fun on the golf course, which is ultimately what it's all about, right? So number 3, we definitely look for real-time, big-time swing issues, right? So these are typically done and called out, if you would, under pressure, whether that ball's below your feet or above your feet. The ball's way down in the rough. You got a bad break and you're under a lot of mental pressure. We got another buddy that we're playing with, and he's on the green in 2, and you're hitting your 4th shot into the green, and you're putting this pressure on you. But this real-time feedback allows for some immediate adjustments and definitely helps develop a more reliable swing under pressure, right? Because you're more confident and you know what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. All right. Above the balls above the lie, or excuse me, lies above the feet and below the feet are typically where we see a huge amount of issues with people. All right. Another thing with swing issues is they're swinging differently with different clubs, right? Even though we try to get everyone to buy into the fact that, look, the physics of the golf swing are relatively the same, and the geometry is a little different based on the club that you're hitting, right? Ball position and setup, if you would. But then you get to the course and you see, my God, they got some super real time swing issues. They swing their driver, 14 degrees over the top, but yet their wedges are outside or inside to out. Right. So, it's a big difference. And we're really going to call out these real time swing issues that we see. Right. Another one that comes up in this, this frame, if you would, all the time is guys and girls both, they have a 160-yard shot and they're in between clubs. So they pick the smaller of the 2 options. They'll call it, they don't hit that far, and they really go for it. They try to hit it, an additional 7 to 10 yards or whatever. And I'm just blown away. That's absolutely the wrong strategy, and definitely brings into some, swing time, big real time swing issues that come in as you try to swing, guts out, if you would. So, but that's number 3. Number 4 is the mental game. We just talked about this on our Friday 4 last week, man. Um, Look, it's crucial in golf performance, right? We're going to give, or the playing lesson gives us as instructors a real time opportunity to look at and to work on mental strategies on the golf course, such as like managing your expectations, staying focused, being committed, overcoming adversity, having fun, what to do when you're not having fun. Um, we go through a red, yellow, green kind of strategy, right? Where you're always trying to get into the green where you can perform, if you would. Well, how do you get out of that red, if you would, emotionally, right? You just 3-putted and you're about ready to snap your putter, right? You got there in 2 and you 3-putted from 6 feet, right? We definitely got to hone that mental game and make sure that mental game is dialed in so that you can play your best. And we spend a ton of time on this, and we're getting better at it all the time. And I think everyone just assumes that golf is like every other sport, right? And as long as you're kind of three quarters there or halfway there, the mental game is there, right? You're positive. You're kidding yourself that you're positive, right? You're lying to yourself. Positive mental attitude, right? You get the idea. But I assure you, we can pick up strokes, a few strokes on every 9 holes by just honing in your mental game. And I think our students really value that piece of it when we point out firsthand, they see themselves on camera, or we point out right then and there, um, how a different mental capacity, for lack of a better, right, on the same shot, right, or with a little bit more commitment to it, or whatever, and they hit the shot again, or a couple times, whatever. How important the mental game is. So that's number 4. Number 5 is one of my favorites, the short game and putting. I'm amazed how many people, they think their short game is good, they think their putting is good, um, and it's just not, right? Or they have no strategy whatsoever, right? Chipping, pitching, putting, they're all critical for scoring. We all know that, right? Um, we subscribe to the 7 steps theory, if you would, as an example. So you with your back to the front of the green, you walk off 7 paces or 7 regular steps. That's about 21 yards. If you're 21 yards or out, you better be pitching that shot, right? You better be pitching that shot rather than chipping it, right? Because if you think you can chip it or bump and run it and control it, you're typically wrong. So we teach people that, we talk about all the time in our regular lessons in a simulator or on the driving range. But then when we show them the difference and how much they could actually, get closer to the hole and make that ball, you know, land, if you would, almost like throwing a dart, and how much more effective that is than rolling or bumping it out. And that's just one way, that we talk to them about how to enhance their short game. The importance of a putting routine, a real putting routine. Most people don't even have one of those, right? Much less an actual putting stance and putting grip that they go to all the time. So it's really easy for us as an instructors to enhance someone's short game and putting once we see what they do on the golf course, because there's a million different ways that we can help them out. Most people can't get there in one as far as chipping, right? Or pitching, for lack of a better, but we want to make sure they get there in one and not 2 or 3. So, um, so that's number 5. Number 6 is the fact that you're going to get some personalized golf instruction on the course, on your round, on your shots that is 100 million% personalized for you. All right. So, you made a bad decision, and me as an instructor give you another option. We talk about it. You redo the shot, and it turns out a better circumstance, if you would. Turns out a better result. Dude, you can't get better instruction than that, right? Right then and there, a new way to do something, and you just did it yourself, right? It's an amazing thing to see light bulbs go off in people's eyes because they're just seeing the game a little differently, and then they tried that difference, if you would, not just talk about it, they tried it, or not just read it or listened to it, they tried it on the golf course, on the same course in the same area that they just flubbed their usual shot, right? Their usual bump and run, as an example, from 100 yards, right? So you get the idea. But that personalized instruction goes a long way on the golf course for sure, right? And I'm sure that's why we get one of the reasons why that our playing lessons get so highly reviewed. So that's number 6. And number 7 is a confidence booster, right? And I know what you're thinking. Oh, you know what? That's kind of lame, Daniel. It's not, right? If you have confidence on the golf course, or if you have more confidence on the golf course than when you normally would play. So in other words, you take the playing lesson, you've developed some different techniques, you develop some different alternative ways of playing the game or looking at the game, and now all of a sudden you're more confident. Are you going to play worse or better? Right? The answer is you're going to play better. This newfound, if you would, self-belief, if you would, right, can lead to is proven to lead to improved performance. And even more than that, a more enjoyable golfing experience, bar none. So for us, we spend a lot of time with the student on that confidence piece, right? No one does anything in this world well from a negative standpoint, or a negative viewpoint, or a scared standpoint or viewpoint, right? So confidence is king, But faking confidence, well, fake it till you make it. I get it in some circumstances, but golf is not one of them. So we got to make sure that these students absolutely increase their confidence, and the only way that they can do that is by getting better, right? By getting better on the course. So there you have it. There's our 7 reasons. Well, actually, 7 things that you get out of a playing lesson. I guess you could say there's 7 reasons why you should take a playing lesson. The bottom line why you should take a playing lesson is you're going to lower your scores. We guarantee at Imagine Golf that if you take a playing lesson, you're going to lower your golf scores, period. There's no fine print. We don't have any fine print at Imagine. You either get better or you don't, and the lessons are free. And if you take a playing lesson and you don't score less, it's free, right? So we spend 9 holes with you, right? A minimum of 2.5, 3 hours. And then from there, you get this written recap. All right. So it's a phenomenal deal. It's a phenomenal experience, and I highly recommend it. So there you have it. So that's our podcast today. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the follow button on wherever you get your podcast, and be sure to check out imaginegolf.com. And you can follow us on all the social media platforms. And here's to getting you the game that you've always imagined.